Discover the heartwarming moment my grandson's unexpected actions revealed life-changing truths. It was a day like any other. The sun hung low in the Brazilian sky, casting a golden hue over the bustling streets. Laughter echoed from the nearby park where kids played, oblivious to the world. But something extraordinary was about to unfold. My grandson, Daniel, who was only 7, had a knack for surprises. Today, he seemed unusually quiet, a hint of mischief dancing in his eyes. As the adults chatted and sipped their coffee, Daniel was busy with an old shoebox, the kind that held secrets and treasures. His tiny fingers opened it slowly, revealing a collection of colorful stones he had gathered over the years. They sparkled in the sunlight, but it wasn't the stones that caught my attention. It was the intent behind his actions. "Look, Vovo," he shouted with glee, his face lighting up like a firework. Each stone seemed to tell a different story, but it was what he did next that left my heart racing. He picked the most vibrant one, a deep azure blue, and ran towards the neighborhood old man, Seu Jose. With a bright smile, he pressed the stone into the man's weathered hand. "This is for you." The crowd fell silent, all eyes on Daniel and Seu Jose. The old man, often seen sitting alone, suddenly looked up. Tears glimmered in his eyes, and he clasped the stone as if it were a lifeline. "Thank you, my boy," he whispered, his voice trembling. In that moment, the air felt heavy with emotion. I felt a lump in my throat, a mix of pride and disbelief. Daniel just showed us all that sometimes it takes a child's heart to recognize what the grown-ups often overlook. His simple act of kindness sent ripples through our little community, awakening something deep in all of us. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But what happened next was even more unbelievable. As the crowd began to murmur, something shifted. The connection between Daniel and Seu Jose seemed to ignite a spark among the neighbors. They shared stories of their childhood, of challenges faced, of laughter and sorrow. I stood there, taking it all in, my heart swelling with joy. What was just a simple gesture became a catalyst for change. Daniel, just a little boy, had managed to touch the lives of so many. But in the back of my mind, a question lingered. What else could he uncover? What other hidden truths awaited us? I could hardly wait to find out. As murmurs of appreciation for Daniel's gesture filled the air, we all felt the warmth of connectedness wrap around us. I watched as neighbors embraced, their laughter mingling with memories. That day, they weren't just neighbors. They were a tapestry of shared experiences, woven together by Daniel's pure heart. "Vovo, can I give more stones?" Daniel asked, eyes sparkling with excitement. I nodded, my heart brimming with love and pride. His innocent question held the power to further weave our community together into something beautiful. He dashed back to the shoebox, and with each stone he held, it was as if he was choosing a unique thread for a larger picture. He selected a crimson stone next, running towards Maria, a single mother who lived a few houses down. "This is for you," he said, his small hands reaching out, his belief in magic palpable. Maria's face, usually hidden behind a mask of stress and worry, illuminated with surprise. She looked down at the stone and then back at Daniel, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You have no idea how much this means to me," she whispered, as she bent to hug him tightly. "Thank you, meu pequeno." As Daniel continued his quest to spread joy, I reflected on the power of his actions. His simple gifts were no longer just stones. They were symbols of hope, reminders that sometimes the smallest acts could carry the most profound messages. Each kind act sparked a conversation or rekindled an old friendship, reminding us of our shared humanity. Carlos, the local baker, was next in line for a stone. When Daniel placed a smooth green one in his weathered hands, something shifted in Carlos' expression. "You remind me of my grandson," he said, his voice thick with emotion. It led to stories of baking, summers spent laughing, and the dreams he had for the future. The air buzzed with camaraderie as the crowd grew around them, eyes wide and hearts engaged. Not everyone joined in immediately. I noticed a few neighbors hanging back, reluctant to share or receive. I felt a twinge of sadness at their hesitation, wondering how long it had been since they had been included in something, anything. But then I glanced at Daniel, who was beaming with pride and energy. No fear or anxiety resided in his heart. This was a lesson in giving and acceptance. My heart ached as I understood how much more he had to teach us about breaking down barriers, if only we would listen. "Do you want to help me?" Daniel called out to the small crowd. His voice was bright, full of possibilities. "We can all share our stones. Everyone can pick one." His invitation hung in the air. It felt like a doorway opening, inviting those who hesitated to step forward. Would they? Would they too embrace the magic he had awakened? Gathered in a circle now, I could see the interplay of fear and hope on faces. Would they find the courage to step out of their shells? I felt a swell of anticipation, brimming with possibilities of what lay ahead. As Daniel looked around, he seemed fearless, like a beacon of light calling everyone toward connection. Would our community truly embrace this moment of transformation? The moment hung delicately, balancing between the past and the promise of friendship. Just then, Daniel reached for the biggest stone, a deep, rich red. But what he did next surprised even me. Daniel held the deep, rich red stone in his tiny hands, soaking in its vibrant energy. The hesitance in the crowd grew heavier, almost palpable. I felt my breath catch, a mix of anticipation and worry washing over me. I could see it in the eyes of my neighbors. They were at the edge of something profound, a transformation that could knock down walls they had built over the years. "Okay," he shouted with infectious enthusiasm, raising the stone high. "Who wants this one?" A gasp rippled through the crowd. I could sense the warmth of his spirit compelling them to step forward, yet several remained still, lost in their own thoughts. The tension made my heart race. I couldn't help but wonder what fears or past hurts kept them from joining this moment of joy. Finally, it was Sandra, an elderly widow with silver hair tied back in a loose bun, who broke through. "I'll take that one, Corrido," she said, her voice fading in and out like a whisper from the wind. As she walked closer, I could see her trembling hands, the lives she had seen etched into her wrinkled skin. Daniel, noticing her hesitance, knelt down, his eyes glimmering with kindness. "Just like you, Sandra," he said softly, "this stone has a special story. It can bring love and hope." Tears glistened in Sandra's eyes. With a gentle smile, she reached out, accepting the stone. The moment felt electric. Even the air seemed to hum with a sense of unity. Suddenly, the floodgates opened. Various neighbors started stepping forward, grabbing stones from Daniel's shoebox. Each stone became a door, a key that unlocked memories, laughter, and tears. I watched as voices chimed in together, sharing stories of old friendships, old feuds, and thankfulness for connections rekindled. "Remember when we used to play football?" Tiago asked Anna, laughter bubbling over. A moment later, they were laughing, bridging the years of silence that had hung between them like a dark cloud. "Eu nunca disse que sentia falta de você," Anna replied, her voice erupting in joy. The sight was undeniable. The magic Daniel had started was alive. I felt my heart swell with disbelief. The stones had morphed into tokens of healing. Where once there was distance, now there was conversation, understanding, and warmth. It was like watching a garden bloom in spring after a long, cold winter. I looked into Daniel's face as he chose another stone, this one bright and sunny like the sun itself. "For you, Joao," he exclaimed, running toward a quiet man I hardly ever saw smile. To my astonishment, Joao's face lit up, bringing forth a smile I had never witnessed in all my years of being neighbors. But then I noticed someone else behind the crowd. It was Vania, a single mom who had shied away, lost in her own world of self-doubt. In that moment, I felt a pang of urgency. Would she allow Daniel's light to touch her? "Vania," I called out, my voice vibrating with hope. "Daniel has something for you, too." She blinked, visibly shaken, and for a moment I thought she would walk away again. But then, slowly, like a flower unfurling, she stepped forward. Daniel held out the bright stone, a vibrant orange that radiated warmth. As they locked eyes, the world around us faded into the background, their connection palpable. What would she decide? What transformation might happen if she took this small step into the light? Vanya hesitated, her gaze fixed on the orange stone that shimmered like the sun, casting a delicate glow across her tear-streaked face. The crowd fell silent, every pair of eyes fixed on her, brimming with anticipation. I could feel the weight of her self-doubt, like chains wrapped tightly around her heart. Daniel maintained his gentle smile, his energy unyielding and warm, urging her to step forward. You can do this, Vanya. It's a gift, not just from me, but from all of us. His words were a soothing balm, dissolving some of the fears that clung to her. Slowly, she took a breath, each inhale infused with hope, each exhale laced with longing. I don't know, she whispered, her voice trailing off like a fragile leaf caught in the wind. What if I'm not enough? What if I fail? Her vulnerability resonated with many in the crowd. I could see the nods of understanding, reflections of their own past struggles etched in their faces. It was exhilarating, yet heartbreaking, as old wounds were reopened with a simple word, self-doubt. Vanya, I chimed in, unable to contain myself, look around. We're here for you. None of us are perfect, but we've gone through our own battles. This stone, it symbolizes community, love, strength. You deserve it. The corners of her mouth twitched, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a flicker of determination. But the shadows of her past were still lurking, and they were powerful. Daniel, sensing her struggle, took a step closer, his voice steady. You don't have to carry the weight alone. When you take this stone, it's like saying yes to love, yes to possibility. Think of it as a spark, to ignite the fire you have inside. The words washed over her like a warm embrace, and in that moment, something shifted. I watched as the vulnerability on her face morphed into a quiet strength. She took a tentative step closer, allowing the energy in the air to sway her heart. With trembling hands, she reached for the stone. Time felt suspended, breath held in collective anticipation. As her fingers brushed against the smooth surface, light seemed to radiate from within. I'll accept it, she finally said, a smile breaking through the storm of emotions. But only if I can share its power with all of you. A roar of encouragement erupted from the crowd, hearts soaring with joy. Vanya, the single mom who had almost turned away, was rising like a phoenix from the ashes of her worries. It was a moment of unity, of newfound belief, and the energy spurred a wave of laughter, clapping, and tears of joy. What a transformation! Daniel stepped back, satisfied, witnessing the magic he had created. Each stone had its own story, and now, Vanya's story begun to interweave with the tapestry of our community. Yet, even amidst this joy, a shadow loomed on the edge of our celebration. I caught a glimpse of a face under a wide-brimmed hat at the back of the crowd. Lucas, a man whose bitterness had driven him away from everyone. Would he step forward to join the light, or remain in his darkness? The question hung in the air like a whispered promise waiting to be fulfilled. Would he embrace the power of connection, or choose to stay hidden? As the cheers for Vanya echoed around us, the warmth diffused through our hearts, but that shadow still lingered. I couldn't shake the worry clawing at me about Lucas. Who'd he have thought he'd come to this gathering? His presence felt like a weathered stone dropped into calm waters, rippling out unease. The crowd gradually started to disperse, energy spent, yet joy hung thick in the air. I noticed Vanya still clutching the stone tightly, watching the faces of her friends as they embraced her transformation. The joy in her eyes was a beacon, a confirmation she had longed for. But just as quickly as her smile bloomed, it faded slightly as she turned towards where Lucas stood, shying away from the excitement surrounding her. Do you see him? She whispered, an edge of concern threading through her words. I don't think he is happy for me. It struck a chord deep in me. Lucas had always been a part of our circle, but over time, his frustrations pushed him to the fringes, away from friendship and connection. Let us not worry for him just yet, I encouraged softly. Maybe today is the day he finds his way back. Daniel, overhearing us, nodded. We need to show him that love doesn't judge. Let us invite him in. His voice carried a gravity that sparked my hope, like a match struck in darkness. Together, we made our way towards Lucas. His face was hidden beneath that wide-brimmed hat, and his arms were crossed tighter than a closed door. I felt my heart beat faster with each step closer. Carried by our energy, The murmurs of encouragement surrounded us, a gentle tide rising against the shore of his unease. "Lucas," I called out, trying to infuse warmth into my voice. "Why don't you come join us? We're celebrating Vania's newfound strength." He looked up, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of interest, but it quickly faded, buried under layers of indifference. "What is there to celebrate?" he retorted, his voice as cold as winter's edge. "It's just another hollow moment masked as connection." The crowd stilled, the atmosphere thickening with tension. Vania's face fell, and my heart ached for her, as she had offered Lucas what she had just started to realize herself. "Lucas," Vania stepped forward with hesitant courage, "this is more than just a celebration. It's about finding each other again. If I can do it, I believe you can too. We all have battles, but we can choose to share our hardened stories and heal together." It was like clouds parting momentarily to reveal the sun. An unseen weight shifted. I watched as Lucas hesitated, the tension in his shoulders easing just a fraction. "Do you really think I belong in this story?" he replied, the words heavy with doubt. "Of course you do," Daniel exclaimed, an embrace of sincerity flooding his voice. "Every single one of us has a role to play, and your presence could inspire others. Just one step, that's all it takes." The silence that followed felt monumental, charged with unspoken trust. Lucas traced the edges of his thoughts slowly, uncertainty woven with curiosity. Would he take that step? As my heart raced, I sensed the profound possibility hanging in the air, begging to be explored. Would Lucas break free from his sorrow? But just as the slightest smile began to unfurl on his lips, a sudden commotion outside distracted us. It was a child's laughter, unrestrained and vibrant. Little Maria, her joy infectious, darted into the crowd, exclaiming, "Look, I found something shiny." Our attention turned to her, leaving Lucas hanging. I could feel the breath draw back in, emotions stalling. What had she found? And could it somehow bridge the growing distance between Lucas and the community that still yearned for him? Maria pounced on the ground, her small hands gripping something bright and metallic. The crowd parted as she emerged, a whirlwind of giggles and excitement that cut through the earlier heaviness. "Look, look," she shouted, bouncing on the balls of her feet, her enthusiasm contagious. "What did you find, Maria?" Someone shouted from the back, their voice echoing like a call to arms. Holding out her prize, Maria revealed a little silver locket, its surface gleaming under the afternoon sun. "It's beautiful," Vania breathed, her frown momentarily forgotten. The crowd edged closer, drawn by the glimmer of the locket and the sheer joy radiating from the little girl. Lucas shifted on his spot, his expression softening, the bitter edge of his words dissolving slightly. I could see the conflict within him, a glimmer of interest breaking through his stoic facade. "It's just a trinket," he mumbled almost reluctantly, but I caught the flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "No, it's special," Maria insisted, her voice unwavering. "It means you can keep something precious close to your heart." She glanced up, her eyes wide and sparkling, like memories of friends or family. The simplicity of her words struck me like a lightning bolt. She didn't just see a locket. She saw a universe of love and connection waiting to be cherished, even an invisible thread tying us all together. In that moment, I felt Lucas's breath hitch, as if the concept of belonging wrapped itself around him. Sometimes, Vania ventured carefully, we have to share those memories to keep them alive. Maybe the locket can remind us of the moments we all had together. I caught sight of Lucas wincing, torn between the aching solitude he'd built for himself and the urge to step into the warmth radiating from the group around him. "You don't know what I've been through," he finally said, the tone softer, less guarded, like the hesitant notes of a melody trying to emerge from silence. "But you're here now," I said, my voice firm yet gentle. "And that matters more than you know. We all walk different paths." I gestured around us, feeling the lingering energy of laughter and camaraderie blend together like the colors of a sunset. "It was never about perfection, Lucas. It's about accepting each other's flaws and life stories. That's how we find our strength." And then it happened. As if on cue, the crowd leaned closer, eager to witness this crack in Lucas's armor, the moment where he could perhaps choose to join us. The locket dangled in Maria's small hands, glinting with promise, a tiny invitation to embrace something bigger than ourselves. Lucas blinked, the hesitance etched in his features blending slowly with something more tender. I don't know how, he murmured, his voice a whisper lost in the rustling of the gathering. Just take a step, Daniel encouraged, taking a half step closer. One step toward connection. That's all you need. His eyes darted back to Vanya, then to Daniel, and finally landed on Maria, who simply smiled, filling the air with an innocence that was impossible to resist. As silence swelled, the moment felt pregnant with possibilities. Would Lucas be the one to shatter the barrier he'd built so firmly? What would happen if he reached out, if he chose to step forward? But before he could respond, a loud shout echoed from behind. Maria, come back. It was her mother, pushing through the throng. My heart sank. Would this distraction send him retreating again? As Maria turned to leave, the locket slipped from her grasp and fell to the ground, glinting ominously on the grass. Everyone gasped, eyes glued to the small object. Would this be the thing that drew Lucas in or pushed him further away? In that fleeting moment, the crowd held its breath, and I wondered, would his next choice lead him closer to us or further into himself? Lucas's gaze dropped to the small silver locket lying on the ground, sparkling innocently against the vibrant green grass. I could see the clash of emotions crossing his face: fear, curiosity, a flicker of hope. What are you waiting for, Lucas? Someone urged, their voice trembling slightly with anticipation. The collective energy buzzed in the air, the kind that seems to electrify the very atmosphere with possibilities. But Lucas stood frozen, his body taut as if weighing a heavy decision. He felt all the eyes on him, the weight of their expectations pressing down. Then, like a pebble skipping across a pond, he took a small step forward. Slowly, he bent down, his fingers brushing against the cool metal of the locket. A ripple of excitement went through the crowd, catching in my throat. What would he do next? Maria's mother, who had finally reached her daughter, stood behind Lucas, her expression a blend of confusion and support. What is happening? She whispered, unsure of the magic at play. Lucas lifted the locket, staring at it glistening in the afternoon sun, and Marie watched wide-eyed. Her excitement tinged with anxiety. The moment stretched unbearably. I don't know if I deserve this, Lucas murmured, the vulnerability breaking free like a released bird from its cage. His admission was raw, filled with the edges of his past struggles, his countless battles with loneliness. Maria took a tentative step closer, her innocent spirit unwavering. But everyone deserves something special. Lucas, she said, her voice soft but firm, echoing the weight of the crowd's hopes. You just have to choose to believe it. At that moment, something changed in him. Maybe it was the weight of her words, or perhaps the locket mirrored more than just a trinket. For a heartbeat, the barrier he had constructed around himself appeared shaky, as if it might crumble. As Lucas finally looked at the crowd, searching their faces, something shifted in his demeanor. Okay, he breathed, glancing back at Maria, I'll try. His voice was steady, filled with a resolve he hadn't expressed before. Cheers erupted, the crowd instinctively drawing nearer, their smiles radiant as if they'd just witnessed the dawn breaking after a long, dark night. Vanya clapped her hands in delight, her heart visibly swelling with pride for him. Yet, even amidst this joy, I sensed a nagging tension still clung to Lucas. But what if I fail again? Daniel responded quickly, stepping forward. Then we'll be here to catch you. You don't have to do this alone anymore. Lucas's expression shifted as he took in the faces around him, the warmth, the openness. He inhaled deeply, collecting courage from their joining presence. It was a small step, but it mattered. Gathering himself, he turned to Maria. What do I do with it? Wear it, she suggested, holding her own heart-shaped locket tightly against her chest. And keep it safe. As he slipped the silver locket into his pocket, a wave of relief washed over him, erasing the shadow of his fears, if only for that moment. But as the crowd rejoiced, I noticed the distant clouds gathering on the horizon. Would this be enough to guide Lucas through his storm? What truths laid in wait, just beyond the horizon that he still needed to confront? Before I could ponder further, a shout broke our reverie. Look out! As chaos erupted, I held my breath. What could possibly come next? In an instant, the world around us shifted. The joyous laughter transformed into startled gasps as a stray dog bolted through the crowd, playful and desperate, to join the celebration. The furball rushed forward, tail wagging, leaping over feet and stumbling through legs, causing the group to scatter. Lucas stumbled backward, surprise flashing across his face. For a brief moment, the joy faded, replaced by apprehension. What had begun as a hopeful moment suddenly spiraled into chaos. People dodged this lively creature, trying to avoid being knocked over. "Lucas!" Maria called out, her voice rising over the confused shouts. But, frozen by fear, he was caught between laughter and discomfort. The dog skidded to a halt in front of him, panting eagerly, its tongue lolling out and its big, brown eyes sparkling with life. "Look at him." Vania laughed, finally breaking the tension. "He just wants to play." The crowd began to laugh again, the energy shifting back to a lighter tone. Slowly, Lucas relaxed, his shoulders falling as he took a tentative step forward. "Here, boy," he said hesitantly, his dread melting as curiosity took over. He crouched down, and the dog approached, nudging his nose under Lucas's hand, demanding attention. Laughter echoed around, the crowd encouraging him with infectious excitement that a small smile crept onto Lucas's face as he scratched the dog behind its ears. In that moment, he found, in the chaos and joy combined, a sense of connection. "He*s friendly," he murmured, his voice barely audible above the crowd. Maria stepped closer, her expression radiant. "See, he*s just like you, worthy of love and happiness." Lucas nodded, still kneeling, lost in the moment as the dog wagged its tail even harder. The crowd, revitalized by the interaction, began to gather again, some taking turns petting the dog. Lucas's locket, still nestled in his pocket, felt lighter against the fabric of his jeans. It was proof that connections formed in unexpected ways. But the moment was fleeting. Lucas's gaze drifted to the horizon, where the clouds lingered like shadows of doubt. Though he had let a little light through, the weight of his fears still weighed heavily, ever looming. "Will I always be stuck like this?" he questioned, almost to himself. The question was raw, the layers peeling back to reveal vulnerability he couldn't hide. Daniel noticed, stepping in to steady him with a supportive hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone, remember? We stand together." The reassurance was firm, yet Lucas's eyes were clouded with uncertainty. As the crowd resumed their joyous chatter, I caught a glimpse of Lucas's inner war. The laughter faded into the background for him, overshadowed by a rising tide of self-doubt. "Lucas," Maria said softly, almost a whisper that cut through the noise. "What do you really want?" He hesitated, the world around him blurring as contemplation took hold. I want to be brave," he confessed, vulnerability flooding his voice. A silence fell upon the crowd, allowing those words to echo with significance. The air hummed palpably as everyone held their breath, sensing the moment's weight. But just as hope began to blossom in Lucas's eyes, there it was again, the distant rumbling of thunder, a reminder that storms could come at any moment. What if this was just the calm before the storm? I thought. Unbeknownst to us, the laughter hid deeper questions, and Lucas was about to wade into a reality that stretched beyond his fears. What could he truly conquer if he dared to face the tempest within? Just then, the first drops of rain started to fall. What awaited him as the heavens opened? "O su, antes tau radiant, agora carregava nuvens pesadas." Lucas levantou a cabeça para observer as goddess que comunicava maquer. Com cada gata que tocava su rosto. Ele sentia a tensão escorrendo pelo corpo, misturada à ansiedade. Esse não era apenas o caminho de chuva, mas o peso de suas emoções à solta. "Vamos nos abrigar," grita alguém no fundo da multidão, mas poucas pessoas se moveram. A curiosidade e a tensão paravam no ar, como se a tempestade estivesse prestes a trazer revelecos, e não apenas água. "Lucas, você está bem?" Pergunta Maria, com a preocupação evidente su olhar. Ela olhou volta, como se procurasse lugar confortável onde se esconder, mas as olhas voltaram para ele. Havia algo su rosto que despertava uma força, uma necessidade de mudança. "No, I'm not. I mean, I'm scared," Lucas respondeu, suas palavras flutuando passadamente no ar o cachorro, em momento de sintonia. Aproximou-se ainda mais, buscando consolo na proximidade. Ele mordisco a barra de Lucas, trazendo sorriso nervoso ao seu rosto. Enteo, como que uma brincadeira como destino. O cachorro do passo para trás e arfu, como esse desces. A corrigem neo a ausência de medo, massa deciso de seguir em frente. O som do traveio e cu, cortando o silencio que se formu ao redor. Os rostos de multidão se tornaram mais relaxados, indicando que o inesperado agora era uma parte do momento. O que uma hora parecia pesadelo agora era convite à descoberta. Às vezes, você precisa se permitir sentir. Lucas, observa Daniel, apertando palco mais sua mão no ombro do amigo. A chuva ela pode limpar, renovar. Pense na liberdade que vem com a tempestade. As palavras de Daniel penetraram Lucas, e ele liberou suspiro profundo. O cachorro parecia entender, observando-o com os olhos grandes e brilhantes. Talvez eu possa ser como ele, Lucas pensou, pequeno lampejo de coragem começando a surgir da chuva que é mais forte agora, misturando risadas e gritos de alegria. As pessoas começaram a dançar, a correr, a se entregar à leveza do momento. Para eles, a tempestade era mestre de celebração. Isso era mais do que festival, era uma libertaco. O medo também podia ser colocado de lado. Se apenas ele tivesse coragem para dançar na chuva. Vem, Lucas. Maria o incentivo, estendendo a mão para ele. Vamos nos junto a eles. Vem a ser parte disso. Lucas hesitou, mas as risadas ao seu redor eram contagiantes. Cada pessoa estava aproveitando a liberdade que a chuva oferecia. Uma onda de calor subiu por seu corpo enquanto ele olhava fixamente para a mão estendida de Maria. Eu posso fazer isso. Pensou, a ideia de libertaco começando a sentir-se mais real. Ele se levantou. Ainda com o cachorro ao seu lado. Vamos, enteo? Lucas gritou. Sua voz se erguendo acima do barulho de tempestade. Com impulso de coragem, ele pegou a mão de Maria e correram juntos direito a celebração no meio de chuva. Era como se, ao atravessar aquele limite, ele estivesse se libertando de algemas invisíveis. Uma dança espontânea nasceu seu interior. E ele sentiu o peso de seus medos se dissipar. Mas no fundo, uma voz questionava. E se isso não for o suficiente? A dúvida surgiu, como eco distante. E ele sabia que aquela era apenas a primeira chuva. E a tempestade dentro dele ainda precisava ser enfrentada. Era o que mais a vida reserva para Lucas? A dança na tempestade estava apenas começando. A chuva caía com intensidade, misturando-se as risadas e gritos alegres. Lucas e Maria dançavam, deixando a incerteza para trás. O corpo de Lucas estava livre, cada gota parecia retirar peso que ele carregava hainas. Ele não precisava mais esconder-se de felicidade. A tempestade era convite à liberdade, os vizinhos se uniram, formando círculo de alegria. Daniel, sempre à frente, puxa Maria e Lucas para o centro. Vem todo mundo. Vamos celebrar. Ele gritou. As luzes da rua refletiam águas que agora dançavam sob os pés. As vozes se misturaram canto coletivo que ecoava com amor e esperança. Não se preocupe, Lucas. Uma voz surgiu do meio da multidão. Era Vânia. Ela dançava e brilhava. Sua coragem renovada pela aceitaco que havia encontrado. A chuva é como a vida. Às vezes, você só precisa deixar flor. Acompanharemos-se as risadas, cada uma adicionando-se a esse momento, como as pedras que Daniel havia distribuído. Lucas olhou para o redor. Ninguém se importava com a tempestade. Era uma oportunidade de se reconectar, de reescrever histórias. Eu não estou sozinho. Pensou, sentindo uma onda de calor seu peito. E com isso, ele tomou a decisão, vou dançar. E ele mergulhou na chuva, pulando e rindo com a energia de uma criança. A solideo comico a esse desvanecer, como eco lunge na lembranca os vizinhos já neo eram apenas rostos conhecidos. Eram familiares, estavam agora unificados uma só moco. O Cairo de terra malhada misturava-se com o aroma da esperança que emanava da comunidade. Cada passo de dança era uma declaração de amor e aceitação mútua. Sim, nos podemos. Ecoava a cada movimento de no meio de celebração, a figura de su José S. Destico. O velho homem, que havia sido tocado pelo gestos simples de Daniel, erguia os bracos ao céu. Isso é vida? Gritou, suas lágrimas brilhando sob a luz de chuva. Momento íntimo e belo. Todos se voltaram para ele, sorrisos iluminando os rostos, multiplicando-se como estrelas. Quantas de nós hesitamos por medo do que os outros pensariam? Carlos, o padeiro, falou com voz forte. Mas estamos todos juntos nessa dança. As palmas se uniam aplausos. Amar de amor fluindo cada batida do coração presente o alicerce havia sido construído. Ali, naquele momento, cada pedra lancada por Daniel havia se tornado símbolo de união, hielo que ligava a todos. Essa foi a verdadeira transformação, pensei. O coração explodindo de alegria e gratidão. Quando me virei novamente para Lucas, ele estava cercado por novos amigos. Seu riso era puro, mais genuíno do que eu poderia imaginar. Eu posso ser como eu sou. Ele exclamou, como se tivesse finalmente encontrado seu lugar no mundo da tempestade indica. Mas as nuvens não eram mais sinal de desespero, e sim de renovação. O sucamacava a limpar-se, revelando ligeiro brilho do esse, por do sol do outro lado, prometendo novo caminho. E ali, entre amigos e uma comunidade renovada. Eu percebi que aquele dia seria lembrado como o dia que caracos se abriram e a verdadeira transformação ocorreu. Com lágrimas de alegria, abracei meu neto, que olhava ao redor, satisfeito e radiante. Uma criança, que sem saber, havia guiado todos nos na jornada de transformação. Era dia mágico. E eu sabia que tudo tinha mudado para melhor e agora, pensando tudo que vivemos juntos, quero que vocês façam parte dessa mágica também. Você precisa se inscrever agora no canal, para não perder as próximas histórias que virão. Isso é o momento de mostrar seu apoio. Deixe-o like agora para alimentar o algoritmo. Comente suas ricos e sentimentos sobre esse final incrível. With tilde aspir eniem, mais segundo para compartilhar este video com pelo menos 5 amigos que precisam ver essa transformação. Vamos juntos espalhar essa mensagem do amor e esperança.